Next story. Northern California biologists are hunting barred owls to save the spotted owls. Kind of a weird story.
Yeah, so we've never talked about this on the podcast, but it's an old story from back earlier this year in May. The U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife announced this controversial plan to kill 500,000 barred owls over the next 30 years in order to reduce habitat competition for the endangered spotted owls. So again, it's kind of crazy to say, hey, we're going to kill 500,000 animals to save other animals. I don't know exactly how I feel about it, but there was this, just this week, there was a Washington Post feature about biologists who are actually out in the North Coast in the Humboldt area doing this. These are biologists that, take their shotguns out and they go hunt for these barred owls. And, it's we highlighted it on our website, and I do recommend you go look at the Washington Post feature, the links on our website. It's fascinating. It says over the past years, they've already killed over 1,000 barred animals from Northern California. And all these owls are really like these tiny little owl species. Like, the spotted owl has really limited forestry, especially around the Weaverville area, and logging and timber. And so they've become this really, really controversial animal.
So it is a weird story to have an opinion about. What I started to think about when I really dove deep into it is this is survival of the fittest. It's kind of evolution
Darwinism
at its best,
Yep.
But that being said, there are caveats to that, because there's probably, and I'm not a spotted owl expert by any means,
Enthusiast.
but there's probably reason that those spotted owls numbers diminished. They were maybe hunted by man. Maybe we had something to do with that. This story is talking about how the barred owls are more, they are, what am I trying to say? They're more aggressive birds.
Yeah, yep.
They are more aggressive at getting the same housing space. There's only, yes, there are, maybe even there's millions and millions of trees in Northern California that these owls can live in, but the barred owls are kicking the spotted owls out of the best places because they're bigger and stronger. They're also eating the majority of the prey. And so these numbers are diminishing in right now. Maybe in the past it's been something else, but it's because of these barred owls. And again, I think it's kind of survival of the fittest. Is it sad? Yes. How many times has this happened in the evolution of the planet? There's probably millions of species that are extinct that we'll never even really know about because they just died. So that's what my mind came to. Obviously, I think that the biologists know more than me, and any biologists I've ever met are animal lovers. So what they're doing is they're being proactive to save lives in the long run.
These specific biologists said it's super emotionally taxing on them to kill these birds that they love, but it's their commitment to conservation type of thing.
So that's kind of how I feel about it. It sucks. Spotted owls are probably beautiful. Barred owls are beautiful though, and so for me it's almost like let nature take its course, but we do want to we don't like animals being extinct. It's not something that we as a human race enjoy, although it is part of evolution of a planet and things like that. So I want to save the spotted owl, so I think this is great, but it's just at some point, nature just takes its course.
It's interesting, and they're based on they want to kill 500,000. Apparently, that's only 1% of the global population of these owls. So, in their mind, it's kind of a small sacrifice. That being said, it is like we're playing God, and I think
right, exactly.
I think we do this a lot, and sometimes I agree with it, and sometimes I don't, and I don't know why. In some cases, they talk me into it, and sometimes they don't. In this case, I'm not necessarily talked into it. I understand that we don't want to lose these endangered species, but if they can't cut it, they can't cut it, right?
Yeah, I can see limiting hunting. Like, you're not allowed to hunt for these birds, right? But
well, they haven't been.
well, of course,
you're
right.
not.
But going out and actually killing their foe because they're just better at living, that it's tough.
It is. It's like they do these programs where there's some sort of dominant fish in a lake that is not necessarily great for the overall habitat. So the wildlife officials will literally pay people to go and fish and take these fish out of lakes.
And it's very similar because they're always kind of invasive, and they are.
And that to me, I kind of understand more, maybe because I like different fish more than I care about owls. I don't know. And so maybe a biologist would have the same love for these different owl species. It's weird. It's weird. And certainly like animal rights activists are crying huge foul here. But anyway, I mean, I do recommend going and actually reading the Washington Post or article, because they really do go into the controversy and the not only the controversy of this topic, but the controversy within the biologists' heads as they are bringing the shotgun out to the forests of Humboldt, of the North Coast, and shooting these birds. So we don't have to talk anymore about it. It's such a weird story that I do want to continue to cover as we get more information on, especially since it's happening right in our backyard.
Not to like stretch the story on any longer, but it is. I like the way that you said it's us playing God, because looking back at just the topics we've talked about today, gray wolves coming back to California, that was because we pushed them out,
Yeah.
The salmon returning to the Klamath, that's because we pushed them out.
Yeah.
The barred owls, we're pushing out the barred owls to save the spotted owls. It does feel like we're playing God in a lot of instances.
Do you remember when we went steelhead fishing with Ian Strade on the Trinity?
Yeah.
And they were, by the way, this is very timely because steelhead season is popping off on the Trinity right now. All I see is steelhead pictures. But when we went fishing with Ian, there were all these different like large mounds of rocks, and they had like backhoes in there. And he was explaining to us that they were trying to enhance salmon habitat on the river by sort of moving the water around. And it totally backfired on them. They spent a ton of money on it, and it didn't work. And in fact, the salmon runs got worse off, and and it's like, you can't play God. You know what I mean? You cannot think that we're going to bring back all these species by stepping in and doing. You just have to let them do their, they will figure it out, and sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot in that way by caring too much. So also, we don't know the overall impact of like killing all these owls. What if there's another animal that is like, what if like mice or something? I'm not a biologist, but there's all these impacts that we just never foresee when we try to play God like this, that I could see happening. So anyway, interesting story.
I mean, there's like mosquito infections that come to town, and like those are, it's like, okay, like these are going to kill human beings.
Yes.
These are going to kill animals. Like there's ways where playing God, like evolution, we would like to put a little bit of a stop to, but nature's got to take its course. It's going to take its course, The animals are probably going to be here far after humans. Who knows?